Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ora News broadcast. It's now time for our daily English news edition, Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. The National Judicial Conference was held today in order to elect 2 new members of the High Council of Justice. Present at the conference, the Minister of Justice, Ilimanjani, repeated that the justice reform must be realized. He had harsh words for the judges of Albania, saying that they are selling their justice to the people who can pay for it. He announced a new wave of inspections in cooperation with the High Council of Justice. We are noticing some unjustified delays in court judgments, he said, which must not be allowed to happen. There is a growing number of court sessions that are being postponed because of medical reports. You should be aware that being irresponsible makes your position worse. You are the ones who should be correcting us. We should not need to give you lessons on how to behave. None of you should be afraid of the justice reform, and you should all continue with your work, said Minister Manjani. The head of the Supreme Court spoke along the same lines, asking for more responsibility from the judges during this transitional time. The judges should not neglect their work, he said. They should be doing their duty in service to the citizens. The aim of the reform is to improve the system and to establish the principle of democracy at its foundation. The reform will have a positive impact on the rule of law, so we have the moral obligation to contribute to the reformation of this system. The constitutional changes are being reviewed, with the Venice opinion as a guideline. I want to appeal to the political class to increase their efforts to find consensus, to realize the justice reform, he said. In the conference today, the judges elected 2 new members of the High Council of Justice. The Assembly Speaker Ilir Meta has issued the order for the creation of a special unit that will administer the background checks for the officials. The self-declaration forms signed by the public officials will be submitted to this unit in accordance with the new legal provisions. The Assembly has now published a full register of all the officials that are obligated by law to submit the self-declaration form. There are 109 public officials, including the members of Parliament, the leaders of constitutional bodies, and the officials elected by the Parliament, who are required to fill out the form. This list of officials includes the Prosecutor General Adriatic Lala, the BOA Governor Gent Seko, and the Albanian Ombudsman Igli Totozani. The Assembly Speaker held a meeting to discuss this issue with the Prosecutor General, Mr. Lala, who is responsible for verifying all of the self-declaration forms, including those of the MPs. They also discussed the continued implementation of the decriminalization law. In a media announcement, Mr. Meta has appealed to all the public officials to fully implement the law following the new requirements to the letter. Meanwhile, a special unit for decriminalization was set up several days ago at the order of the Prosecutor General. The unit is made up of 3 officers who will verify all of the self-declaration forms. Albania's Foreign Minister Ditmir Bushati is currently on a 2-day visit to Greece, a very important visit for the country's diplomacy. 20 years after a treaty of friendship was signed with Greece, the foreign minister has asked the Greek president to repeal the law on war. He made the following comment today: "I'm hopeful that we will convince the Greek side to abrogate the law on war, which would give us the chance to close the historical chapter of World War II." On his part, the president of Greece expressed his willingness to maintain good relations. Regarding the law on war, the Greek Minister of Foreign Affairs made the following statement: "Greece is not at war with Albania. This is proven by Albania's integration into NATO and the Friendship Pact that we signed in 1996. The subject of the refugee crisis was also discussed by the 2 ministers. On his part, the Greek minister had this to say: "Regarding the refugees, I think that this should not be a problem between us. You should remember that Greece has received 650,000 Albanians. This means that Albania has a lot of experience with the mobility of its own population, and I think that Albania must treat the current problems in the same way that we treated the problems back then." Minister Bushati responded that Albania will contribute according to its capacities. "I can tell you that Albania will fulfill all of its commitments as an EU candidate country," he said. "I am referring to the fact that our commitments have limited financial resources. We are available to resolve the refugee crisis within the context of a common European solution." Mr. Bushati also spoke briefly about the maritime border with Greece, announcing a joint mechanism to tackle this issue between the countries. He said, "We will commit ourselves to creating a mechanism as soon as possible in order to overcome any past or future obstacles to our common goals. We should address these obstacles one by one in order to reach a full agreement. This will promote the development of Greek-Albanian relations, said Mr. Bushati. In a publication afterward, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced that the meetings were primarily focused on finding solutions to historical issues between the countries. The ministers also discussed the current issues and the common future of Greece and Albania. There was a certain amount of confusion surrounding the Socialist Parliamentary Group meeting today about the issue of a referendum within the party. It's reported that the MP Ben Blushi asked about the referendum, and according to our sources, he was told that the campaign for a referendum is beginning today. It's also reported that the MP Mimosa Hafizi asked why the party statute was adopted as a package and why the Congress did not go through it article by article. She was told that the party statute has always been adopted in this manner. The Prime Minister was questioned by the media after the meeting, and he gave only the following response: "We are continuing with the work, and the work that you are talking about is already finished." Meanwhile, the MP Arta Dade was heard saying that she did not understand the questions in the meeting, and the MP Valentina Leskai was heard speaking against the referendum. Amid all of this confusion, perhaps the biggest surprise was the statement of the MP Kocho Kokodima. Up to this point, he has denied that there was any conflict between himself and the chairman, Gramoz Rucci, but today he appeared to be saying the opposite. He said, "As the press is aware, we have had discussions about our reform of the Socialist Party in the South. I asked for a vote of confidence from the delegates, and I asked this because of the criticism against me. My project in the South has been criticized, but the delegates of the Congress supported me," said Mr. Kokodima. The CEC has postponed the discussion on 3 different local referendums, all of which were requested by the Democratic Party. The Central Election Commission will discuss the requests on Wednesday instead. The Democrats have asked for referendums on the construction of the playground at the lake, the building of an underground parking lot in the Rania Park area, and the construction of a new building at the Polytechnic University. They feel that the citizens should be given the chance to vote on these changes, because interfering with the city's green spaces will have an effect on the environment. The left-wing members of the CEC are against the referendums, saying that there can be no public vote on administrative issues because it will damage the budget. Meanwhile, the legal representation of the Democrats is saying that the CEC does not have the right to deny the process, but only to moderate it. According to the right wing, only the Constitutional Court and the President have the power to make a decision on the matter. It's been reported that representatives from Tirana City Hall will also attend the meeting on Wednesday. That's the end of our edition for this evening. Thanks again for watching, and please join us at the same time tomorrow for more translated news in English. Have a great night.